My name is Dr. Abyss 3. Let it be clear that everything I reveal here stays within these walls. If you're reading or listening to this, I am the sole authority over the words that follow. There is no room for rhetoric, only the truth. And first and foremost, the truth is uncomfortable. When you're called to work on something that seems simple at first, studying the communication of octopuses and dolphins, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking it's just another mundane project. Most people would assume it's a typical scientific endeavor, understanding animal intelligence, perhaps even improving human interaction with marine species. A run-of-the-mill project with a set timeline and predictable results. But as always, the truth is never what it seems, and you perhaps have learned by now that nothing is as it appears. I was assigned to lead the research team on octopus communication. Initially, the plan was straightforward. A detailed analysis of the vocalizations and gestures of these animals to identify patterns, to attempt to translate their language. We had recordings of highly complex behaviors, like the use of camouflage in patterns that seemed to respond to external stimuli. But something started happening. Soon, the communication patterns began to distort. One of the octopuses we were observing, named Omega, started exhibiting behaviors I couldn't explain. Responses that seemed not to be reactions to natural stimuli, but something intentional, as though it were trying to communicate with another force, another presence. By that point, the scientists under my supervision were convinced that we were just dealing with a rare phenomenon of interspecies communication. They didn't know. Neither they nor I, at the time, had the slightest idea of what was really going on. But it was Omega's behavior that started to unsettle me. One particularly quiet afternoon, while reviewing the recordings, I noticed something peculiar. A frequency. Something that couldn't have been generated by an octopus. Something that couldn't simply be a sound anomaly. A code. It was clear to me, the responses weren't random. The sequence of signals made sense. The octopus's signals weren't just random noises. They were, in fact, a frequency that could be read, or at least seemed to be, in an interdimensional language. A code so precise it suggested not only intelligence, but a deliberate attempt at communication with something beyond. At this point, I was alone with my thoughts, the weight of the responsibility crushing me. When you start to perceive signs of something that shouldn't exist, there's a part of your mind that fights to deny the evidence, even when logic is overwhelming. And here I am, on the edge of something I should never have been exposed to, but something that without a doubt needed to be understood. What Omega was doing wasn't just communication between species. The octopus, with its intelligence beyond most human comprehension, was attempting to send a message to something greater. Something we, on the surface, should never understand. It was then that I realized that no matter how hard I tried, I could no longer ignore it. I knew I couldn't reveal this to anyone. The Purple Lagoon wouldn't allow it. The research lines on this project were fragmented. I was the missing link. The only one capable of piecing this puzzle together. I wasn't just the only one who understood what was happening. I was the key to what was coming next. The shockwaves of this revelation still echo within me. But what's most disturbing is that, as much as I tried to disconnect from the case, the signals kept coming. They grew louder, began to form a narrative that expanded into something even bigger. The octopus wasn't alone. It was a transmitter, but the message it was trying to send came from a place we, as humans, should never explore. But even as I processed the enormity of the signals, I wasn't prepared for what came next. The message, if it could be called that, began forming patterns not just in sound but in light. Omega's chromatophores, those tiny cells responsible for its intricate camouflage, started pulsing rhythmically. At first, it seemed like a natural stress reaction, but the more I observed, the clearer it became. This wasn't random. The colors weren't just patterns, they were sequences. I activated the high-speed camera system to capture the flashes in detail. When I slowed down the footage, my stomach turned. The sequence was unmistakably mathematical. The intervals, repetitions, and shifts in intensity Omega was speaking in a universal language, one without words. Mathematics and light, communication in its purest form. And yet it wasn't directed at me. I sat there in the dim observation room, the hum of recording equipment filling the silence, my hands trembling. My training had prepared me for many things, from decoding ancient languages to theorizing about alien civilizations. But this was beyond any protocol or hypothesis. Whatever Omega was communicating, it wasn't human, it wasn't terrestrial. Hours blurred into days as I analyzed the recordings. Patterns emerged that referenced physical constants, the speed of light, the golden ratio, even Planck's constant. But within them were deviations, anomalies defying our understanding of the universe. It was as if the message was coded not just to be understood, but to alter perception itself. A map, perhaps, or a key. Then the dreams began. At first, they were vague images of vast, dark oceans stretching beyond the curvature of any planet, filled with leviathans pulsating with the same light as Omega's chromatophores. But as the days passed, the dreams grew vivid. I could feel the pressure of water, the cold seeping into my bones, the weight of something immense watching from the depths. Always watching. I tried to ignore it, attributing it to stress, too many hours of work and too little sleep. But the dreams haunted me even when awake. I saw shadows in the lab's corners, heard faint echoes of signals in the white noise of equipment. All the while, Omega watched me from its tank, its unblinking eyes brimming with knowledge I couldn't escape. I knew I couldn't continue alone, but reporting what was happening was impossible. The fragmented structure of the Purple Lagoon project meant no one else could see the full picture. Even if they did, they'd dismiss it all as error, anomaly, or a scientist gone too far. So I buried the data, encrypted the recordings, and locked myself in the lab for 3 nights straight. On the 3rd night, I made a breakthrough. Using a combination of Fourier analysis and quantum encoding, I extrapolated part of the signal into a visual format. What appeared on the screen wasn't just data. It was a design, an intricate 3-dimensional construct, both mechanical and organic. Its geometry defied logic, spiraling into dimensions I couldn't comprehend. At its core pulsed a light identical to Omega's patterns. A portal, perhaps? A vessel? The implications were endless. Yet as I stared at the construct, a chill crept down my spine. For within the spirals and folds of the design, I saw something that left me breathless. A shape, a symbol I had only seen once before during my earliest studies in comparative mythology. An ancient sigil, said to belong to entities existing before time itself. Entities that, if awakened, could unravel all we know. My name is Dr. Abyss Thury. Let it be clear, everything I reveal here stays within these walls. But tonight, as I face this impossible revelation, I am unsure the walls can contain it. Whatever Omega was reaching for, whatever it was calling to, has already begun reaching back.